Hello again. We're going to try this one more time, and hopefully, Sherine and I will both be visible, and you'll be able to hear her story. Oh my goodness, technology, technology. But never mind, we move forward. We won't let things stop us. So, as I was saying, there will be various offers and giveaways, including 10 copies of the paperback version of the book. And let's see, looks like Sherine is coming back again, hopefully. We'll see her in a minute. Almost there. Oh, apologies for the slowness of technology, but what can you do? Hello again. That's a bit better. I can't hear you though. Oh, now I can hear you.
Hi. Have you
Oh
got
well.
have you got
Hello
your
there.
have you did you start your live with it in the rotated position, in the lateral position, in the side view?
You know what? Yeah, I forgot. I said, never mind. We'll just go with it. I'll just
No,
be a
no, no, this
talking
is about
head. It's okay.
no, we've got to have you in your full potential. Oh no.
Never mind.
Well, I
Anyway,
tell you what you
so
can do is if you can
welcome everyone.
raise it up a little bit, and then you'll be able to see your head, at least your full beautiful head.
Right. I don't know.
I'm talking to the
It
mouth
just made it
otherwise.
worse. Yeah.
There.
I said I just have to sit differently, I guess. Sit forward. Oh, this is really, I can't believe this. This will have to do. There we
Oh,
go. Now you can see my head.
I can only see your mouth.
What? I mean, I can see all of me. This is so bizarre.
There's your
Honestly,
head.
I
I can see
cannot
all of you
believe.
now. I can see your head.
Okay. All right. If you can see my head, hopefully everybody else can see my head. This is just unbelievable today. I do not understand this at all. Anyway, here we are, finally,
Finally.
with Sherine Lovegrove. Technology aside, she is with us finally. And Sherine is an author. She's a fellow therapist. She's also become a very good friend. And she's also a former student on my dream interpretation course. And I wanted to let Sherine have an opportunity to talk about how we got together to start working with her dreams and what the impact has been on her life. So, Sherine, with her all of you appearing or most of you appearing, it's,
It's going to
just
be
talk
interesting to
about
see
your
what
journey.
happens when we.
Yeah.
Well, it was. I mean, I think I've always had dreams all my life, and some of the dreams have seemed to be just. Most of them are mostly bizarre, but there are often times when I know that the dream is really important, and those are the dreams that I realize that we have to pay more attention to. Very few of the dreams are not predictive, but some have been, but in general it's about my journey or what's going on for me. And yeah, and I guess I think when we talk about it is really how you asked the question was how did I come to you. Well, we met on Facebook, didn't we? And then we just connected, and you told me that you did dreams, and you said you were doing the course, and I was on it because I was curious. I've always people tell me their dreams, but I didn't have a way in a lot of ways. I had to just use my gut instead of something that's very systematic, which is something that you taught us on the course.
So, do you find that what you learned on the course is something that you're using, I
Yeah,
mean, in your work or on a personal level at this
yeah.
point in
Yeah.
time?
Well, I think what it really has done is it's allowed me to see one, a lot of the sequences of the dreams, but two, I think if I was going to just say one of my biggest takeaways was really to start to engage with the dream and to treasure the dream in some way. As you said, give it, honor the dream. And it doesn't matter what dream it is, but to honor it, because there's something in that dream, whether we like it or not, is part of us. And it's telling us something. And I think that when I started writing out the dreams in the way that you did, where I started to analyze and look through each thing, a whole world opens up. Yeah. And a whole world opens up, which is pretty magical, I think. And and you start to dream the future in a way.
Yes, yes. I mean, there is the um, predictive nature of dreams. That's true. I mean, they can frame a current situation.
Yeah.
They kind of blow off smoke, from daily stresses and strains.
Yeah.
So dreams can have various functions, but psychologically they're very important because, as you say, they come from us and they're pointing out something like, saying like, hey, have a look at this. This
Yeah.
is important.
Yeah.
And I think of in particular, well, one dream that you had that you said it had an impact on your heart, literally, in terms of looking at your life in a particular way, and I think that would be kind of interesting if you could, I mean, to kind of recount briefly what this. I mean, and I know it was a really
it was a long dream.
dream.
It was a very involved dream. But I think
there was the elements of it I think are important.
Yeah, really important. And in fact, you can always go one dream is a coincidence, and then a second dream, well, maybe it's not so much a coincidence. And a third dream is, hey, this is a pattern. Your body's telling you something. Pay attention. So I think what I really learned, was certainly that dreams come to us in ways that we won't understand necessarily. But when we go into it, it's almost like as it starts to unfold like a flower. And then as we connect with it, it works. And that's what you taught me. And the thing that really started to happen is I remember the dream that I had was essentially, it was set that I'm going to go straight into the middle part of it. Basically, I was going down in a tunnel, sort of like into a deep part of the crevice of the bowels of the earth. And alongside were a red and a green, big red-green pipes. And then you go into the tunnel, and in the tunnel, there were these bandits, all right? And they had these white sort of crosses over them. And going in, first of all, my partner had gone in first, and there were some other people, and they hadn't come out. So that was the reason I was going down into the space. And they said, no, we're holding him hostage. We're holding them hostage. And part of that, and we did eventually kind of get them out. And I did get them out in that sense. But when I came out, I saw the soil was so black, or it was like black oil, and it was black soil. And then then part of the thing is, as I was starting to look at it, I just thought, oh, that's black seed oil, right? So that was interesting. And then I started to look a little bit on what black seed oil does, and black seed oil works as an anti-inflammatory. All right, guess what those bandits are? Part of Band-Aid. The immune system. Band-Aid. Yes. Yeah. Do you see? And the moment you start getting more information, you start to go click, 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 click. This makes sense. And then the other thing was, just recently I woke up really desperately, and I hadn't bought any I'd started some black seed, and then I kind of let it go. And then it had run out, and I had another dream just recently, actually, probably about 2 months ago. And I woke up sweating, and I just said, oh, Nigel is dead. And we know Nigella's got very black hair, and we got all of these kind of things. But black seed oil is made of Nigella
Jealous
seeds.
seeds.
Yes.
Exactly.
And as I said it, Nigella's dead, I knew that it was Nigella's seed. Yeah. It was
But you
just,
see how clever the unconscious
mm,
is. It will use play on words. It will
yeah,
use slips of the tongue. It will
yeah,
use, it will hang things on familiar images, but in such a way that you really have to go deeper to get the
yeah.
message. So I'm so glad you and your black seed oil found your way to each other. But that was a very important heart
Mm,
tonic. I mean, what you didn't
yeah.
mention, it was that with the red and green tubes that you were seeing in the dream were
Yes.
actually the
Veins and
ventricles
vessels.
and yeah, veins of the heart,
Yeah,
and that was
exactly.
blood that was pumping through them. So I mean, the unconscious is extremely clever in presenting information, but
Mm,
you always have to know how to crack the code, and that's what
exactly.
you learned with the course, was how to
Exactly.
crack that code. And everybody's code is different because everybody's symbols are different. People say, oh, but what about dream books? Forget about it. They
Mm,
don't work, because your dream comes from you, it's about you, and therefore it needs the symbols and signals that are given are particular to you and
yeah.
your particular situation in life. So, unless you're exactly like 7 billion other people on the planet,
Which we're not.
yeah,
Thank God.
it's not really going to really going to afford you much to listen to look at
Yeah.
a dream book.
Yeah.
I mean, there are, having said that, though, there are universal symbols that,
Mm.
usually associated with love, sex, and death
All right.
as
Okay.
universal things.
Yeah.
That it's
Yeah.
common to all human experience. And those symbols can turn up in dreams, even if they're from a different culture.
Yeah.
They can
Yeah.
turn up in people's dreams, and they may have never been there, they may have never heard of such a thing, but the symbol, because it taps into um the what they call
Collective
the collective
unconscious.
unconscious.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
It picks the symbol that is appropriate at that particular time. So that's the a little bit of this story of Sherine and her adventures in dreams. But focusing slightly on dreams in a different sense. Now, you've just published a book yourself,
Yes. Oh, let me show you.
and yes, please do.
Hiding in
Hold it
plain
up again.
sight.
Yeah, hold
Oh,
it up
yeah.
again.
Have
There
it
you
straight
go.
there.
Yep, that's right. Hiding in plain sight,
And here
no
I am.
more. Yeah, and there she is. And that's been really a fulfillment of your
Yeah.
personal goal or dream of being visible. And your dreams played a role in that as well, as I recall. I mean, you've
Yeah.
had some important dreams, and not necessarily going to share them here, but dreams that help you to find your own voice and follow your own path. And
Yeah.
I think you would agree with me to say that dreams do have that transformative power if we take the time to actually pay attention to them
Yes.
and
And then act on
heed
them.
heed
Act
the
on the
information.
knowledge that you get.
Yes,
Because it's so
absolutely.
easy. We can't transform. We can get an aha, but that's not a transformation. It's
No,
not a
it's not.
transformation. The transformation happens when we embed it in our everyday today being and we
Ex-
pay attention to it. Yeah.
mhm,
Uh,
exactly. Yeah, and I think people have a tendency to think that, oh, well, dreams, that was, dodgy takeaway, or had too much to drink and had crazy dreams. And that can happen, but when you've had a dream that is has some of an important message, because it stays with you
yeah.
even years later. I mean, some of the dreams that have been really essential in transforming my life and even bringing me to the point where we're having this
Mm,
conversation at all have been had this quality to them that you know that it's coming from someplace different.
Yeah.
It's their power. I call them, big medicine dreams. That dreams that really, if you pay attention to them, will change the course of your life.
Yeah.
And people are having those all the time, but they don't realize it. They just dismiss them because, the left brain is very logical and very,
Mm.
it counts it counts and evaluates. And when dreams appear to that side of us, it's just like, what? No.
Yeah.
And it's dismissed. Whereas on the other hand, us, right brain folks, that tap into language and imagery and creativity, um, or find it much more easy to accept
Yeah.
the information, or to at least to play with it or give it some credence. So one of the things that the course did was to help to literally to integrate the two halves of the brain, so that when the right brain, and I like to say left-handed people are the only ones in their right minds, by the way,
Oh, right.
because
Okay.
we're
That
naturally right
excludes just
brain.
about everyone. Only one in the
But
right mind, so we're all balmy.
yeah, that's right. But the when the right side, the right hemisphere of the brain floats up this information, which it stores as images, and feeling, then the left brain is connected enough to the right side that it doesn't just dismiss it out of hand,
Mm.
but actually stops long enough to say, what's that about, as opposed to dodgy meal,
Nah.
can't be bothered.
And sometimes even, and I do believe that if we start looking at the dreams, and I think probably more from having done the course, really just asking the question, everything is for me. So if I'm getting this dodgy dream, what is the dodgy dream? Even if I think it's about alcohol, or I think it's about a dodgy takeaway, maybe I dreamt that dream for a reason. Maybe there's something about what I need to change in my life.
Yes.
So you're getting the dream. And if we kind of go with that idea, then, and just always see everything as a choice, it's there for us, then it really does make our life very rich. But it also means we go into the flow. And I guess that is what the working with the dream does. It puts you
Yeah.
into flow.
And I think there's also a responsibility with it, because it's not about maybe kind of waiting for somebody or something to fix their lives.
Yeah.
In that sense, it's taking responsibility. It's like, okay, here's a situation that has been posed to me or framed for me in some way. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
there's a lovely expression that we have, and people always laugh when I use it, but we said, there comes a time where you got to piss or get off the pot. You can't sit on the fence. You can't run away, because like the book title, another book title says, wherever you go, there you are. You can't
Exactly.
run. You can run away from yourself for a time, but you can't run away forever. And the ones that try end up with all kinds of problems, because
Mm.
dreams actually have a psychological function. And for example, there was a study done at the University of Colorado, I believe. But this team of researchers looked at depression
Mm.
and divorce in women. And what they found is that the women, during these sleep tests that they were doing, the women who were woken up during the REM stage when they were dreaming, were and asked what they had been dreaming about. It was about some issue related to their marriage, or their former partner, or the divorce, or what have you. There was another group of women that did not dream at all, or couldn't recall their dreams, or didn't think about their exes. And what they found is that the women in the second group um, were stayed far depressed for far longer, and
Oh,
had
right.
had much more trouble
Mm.
adjusting to to the divorce or life after divorce than the women who did dream about their exes and were literally working through issues in their sleep. So there's an important psychological function. Another thing that people may not know is that people who have been taking drugs or alcohol for a long time don't dream. And when they finally come off the drugs or alcohol, they dream constantly. I used to do drug and alcohol counseling, and sometimes the flood of dreams was so much it would
Mm.
actually make them a bit psychotic or a lot
Yeah.
psychotic, because that was all that unconscious material was just flooding
Mm.
their waking hours
Yeah.
and creating these psychotic episodes. So dreaming really is important. It's not just the result of a dodgy meal, but it has meaning and it has purpose, and it can lead us to making the best decisions for our lives. Um,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd absolutely agree with that. And certainly, I think that, having done, I mean, certainly having read your book, because I did have a look at it, had a lovely little preview of your book, which is coming out.
yes,
um, and I really think that what's really important is that, we're very complex beings. But if
yeah,
we've been given something, isn't it a blessing to give it some honor and look at it? There are cultures that actually sit around in the morning and they talk about their dreams.
sure,
And they, and just doing that encourages everybody else. And I'm sure there's a collective dreaming that then starts to happen within a culture or within a situation. But they can
yeah,
then come up with resources that are so very different from what they would have done before, because dreaming gives you the space. It's a very psychoactive space that you can then open up. And I think that, I do believe, well, that's my belief, is that we all have this collective unconscious and we all connect into each other's dreams. And
hmm
sometimes, if we're not prepared to put ourselves out and carry on, and you keep hiding, someone is going to get your idea, because you dreaming and those dreams are going in and
they're out
out
there
everybody else's
into
consciousness. and
cyberspace.
and then, so you may as well listen to the dream, pay attention to what it's telling you, and follow the damn dream.
I know that's true. There's a recipe I came up with my first husband years ago called Mexican lasagna. And do you know, a few days later, I found it in a recipe book, a new I was like, somebody must have heard me heard me talking about it. So there really is something to that, or where there have been episodes where people have actually um, have been in part of the same dream.
Oh, yeah.
I've had that happen. My partner and I recently, we were both dreaming, and we were having the same dream or slight variations of it. I guess my perspective as opposed to his perspective, but variations on that dream. So even people literally do dream together. I mean, the Hopi people in the Southwest
Mm,
United States, the elders sit together and dream the future of their grandchildren. There's dream time in Australia. The Aboriginal people
mm.
there talk about dream time, and dream time is the past, the present, and the
And the
future
future. Mm,
all joined together. So dreams still carry a lot of weight, and some traditional medicines still use dreams as part of their diagnostic process. So
mm.
it's only when modern humans, after the Middle Ages, decided that messing with the mind was taboo. You could mess with the body, but not the mind,
Yeah,
that we started to discount those things and that was primitive, old-fashioned, it didn't matter. And then it came full circle again when we had Freud and Jung.
yeah.
So, I mean, we go from ignoring our unconscious to paying attention to it to ignoring it. And at the moment, we seem to be on the upswing again to paying attention. But Shireen, I think we could go on for hours. I know we could, but it's always a pleasure talking to you. And I
And thank
can
you.
only apologize for this crazy live business. It's like technology is always a bit, a bit of a hit and miss sometimes.
Mm.
But thank you, thank you, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about dreams and how they've been impacted your life. And do read her book. It's a lovely, lovely, lovely book, and talks about imposter syndrome. And even me, I recognize a little bit of myself in her book. But I think there's a little bit of the imposter in all of us. We all want to be posers.
Absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, exactly. And I think thank you for mentioning it. I really do think that it will be very different for men and women, and it will be because when we see a discrepancy between where we are here and there. We don't know and have the confidence, or may not have the confidence, to go for it. And invariably, depending on whether we're male or female, we may respond to it quite differently. In general, women
Absolutely.
suffer more in general.
Yeah.
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 And so, yeah, and I've lived it. And now it is really about, part of that is the dream
Yeah.
of stepping out and knowing your own greatness. Yeah.
Yep,
Knowing what
and
you
she
can do.
is doing it. My girl is killing it. So if you can, get a copy of the book. It's a delightful read, and I'm sure a lot of people will see aspects of themselves, particularly, as you say, women.
Yeah.
Thanks again. Have a
Pleasure.
wonderful rest of the day and week. Thank you, everyone, for joining us despite the glitches. And keep tuned. There'll be more activities to come, including the first of the book launches tomorrow, the 11th, which is a very special day. It would have been my mother's 96th birthday, and she is the reason I am the Dream Decipherer. So I'm honoring her by the first of the launches on the 11th. So thanks again, everyone. Thank you, Sherine. It's been a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
And I said we have to exchange treatments at some point. I mean, once we get out of once we get an
Once
out
you
of
get out of
jail
this,
card.
exactly, we can go past go, and we can collect 200 or 300, 400, 500 quid, whatever it is,
You're right.
and we can just spend it. At the moment, it's just virtual, but we'll spend it.
Yeah, absolutely. Take care and
All right.
have a
Take
great
care.
day.
All right.
Bye bye now.
Take care. Thank you. Thank you. And
Bye.
good luck for your book.